Hello chess friends and welcome to your side of chess channel and welcome to the Tata Steel Rapid and Blitz tournament in 2019 in India. So today we had a very interesting game. It was played by Liren versus Wesley So. I was very interested about this game because I like to watch Liren's games when he plays as white. He plays very nice openings while playing d4, so I'm also myself a d4 player, so I like his variations, I like his style, and that's why I was looking forward to see this game. But you see that Liren is really well prepared in this d4 battle because he has a deep opening preparation, and he plays also many novelties, which is very important now in this computer era of chess to find the best moves, to find the best continuations. And today he played also a very interesting novelty against Wesley. So what happened in the game we'll see now, because I'm not revealing you now the result because the game had its ups and downs and it was really dynamic, so be prepared. This was really some wild shit going on. So here we have d4 so far played by Liren, knight on f6 played by Wesley So, c4 e6, and now knight on f3. The counter Nm2 Indian setup, not allowing this after knight on c3, this bishop on b4 idea to pin the knight on c3, and in the game d5 played by Wesley So, which is now the most popular way to transpose into Queen's Gambit decline. This is now I think the most often played chess variation now these days, maybe after the Spanish game or similar lines. Now I think thousands of games have been played now in this particular move order. Here knight on c3 was played by Liren, and now bishop on e7. Bishop on g5, attacking the knight on f6, and now h6. Also a very interesting idea, because here when the bishop comes on h4 like Liren played, the bishop is a little bit loose, we can always simplify the position with the move knight on e4 and trade off these bishops and have a very nice support of this e4 knight. But if you take here bishop takes on f6, it's also a very nice positional idea by white. After bishop takes on f6, now e3. You see this bishop is blocked out a little bit by this pawn on d4, and this bishop is blocked out anyway by this own pawn, so this would be also a good continuation for white. But in the game bishop on h4 was played by Liren, and now we have d takes c4. So there is now a very tricky line. If you try e4 here immediately, then it's not good. I think black can grab a pawn here because we have some tactics. Knight on e4. If you take first the bishop on e7, then knight on c3, also attacking the queen. After b takes c3, we have queen on e7, bishop on c4. But now black is simply one pawn up, and I think that Liren would lose this game, because this is really the top grandmaster level, and Wesley So wouldn't lose this game for sure. So that's why e3. Tricky salsa that Wesley So has prepared here. Immediately after e3, we have now c5, immediately challenging white's powerful center, because we are not allowing white to continue with these two pawns, because white has really this pawn central control. After c5, we have bishop on c4, and now c takes d4, and now we have this novelty that's played by Liren, although I have seen this move before in this particular line, but it wasn't really played in this top grandmaster level. Here knight on d4 played by Liren. It's really a natural move, because if you take with the e pawn, the pawn on d4, then you have this isolated pawn. It's could be a weakness in the continuation of the game, and that's why here it's better really to take with the knight, although white can always push the pawn here on d5 and simply improve the position. But then after many trades of pieces, pawns, the position again gets too simplified. Here with this knight takes on d4, Liren remains with the good central control. Now with the pieces, this bishop is on a very good diagonal. This dark square bishop is also very well placed, and also this very well nice centralized knight is something that black has to worry about. So in the game, bishop on d7 was played by Wesley So. This is now a preparation to play knight on c6 and then recapture the knight if of course knight takes on c6 would have been played. Then after bishop on c6, black has solved the problems. Then this light square bishop is on a very active diagonal. We have the connection between the queen and the rook, and the position would be equalized, or even better for black. In the game, simply Liren simply castled, and now knight on c6. And again, very interesting idea now by Liren. He played knight on f3, simply retreating back. Very nice move, I think, and this line I'm gonna memorize, because you see in this game that Liren has made maybe some inaccuracies, but he basically played a very nice opening, but really made too many inaccuracies and got punished in the game. Here after knight on f3, castling was played, and now rook on c1. A natural move, rook on c8, of course here by Wesley So, competing here on the c file. And now we have a3 with the preparation to play b4. So here queen on b6 was played by Wesley So, and attacking immediately this b2 pawn. That's why knight on a4, you see it's really hard to find a good square for the queen here. The queen is endangered, so here queen on c7 was played, and now b4, a6, preventing of course this b5 move by white, and here bishop on d3, because the threat was of course to play b5. But maybe instead of this bishop on d3, a better idea would have been to play maybe something like bishop on g3. So now the queen has to retreat on d8, and you see now the white's activity. This bishop has a perfect diagonal, this bishop has a perfect diagonal. We have a potential knight on c5 outpost. You have to give up your bishop pair in an early stage of the game. Maybe now to b5 to play b5 would be a good idea. So in the game, bishop on d3 was played. It's also a very nice move, because here e5 played by Wesley So, trying finally to liberate this bad bishop, because this bishop was really not on a good square, didn't have a good activity, and there is most often times this light square bishop is always a problem for black. You don't find good squares for the bishop, you don't know where to place it on the board. Now after e5, Wesley So tries to solve this problem. So knight on c5, if bishop on c5, it's not a good continuation. You cannot give up your bishop pair in an early stage of the game. Here rook on c5, the rook comes into the game very actively. If you try e4, it seems like you lose a piece, but it's really not true, because we have bishop on f6, and now after something like e takes d3, we have bishop on e5, first attacking the queen. You cannot take of course with the knight, because of the spin on the rook by the rook on the queen, and that's why you would have to retreat again. And then queen on d3, white is a pawn up. White has a better activity with the pieces, so that's why this will be, I think, a comfortable game for Liren. That's why after knight on c5, here rook on d8 was played, finally getting both of these rooks on some active files. And this is really a great move by Wesley So, because he forces now Liren to go somehow with somewhere with the queen. Here Liren played queen on b3, but now he has lost the defense of this knight on f3, so that's why bishop on g4. Here the threat is of course to take. Bishop takes on f3, and then after g takes f3, white would have a weakened pawn structure in front of his king. So here Liren played really sort of a computer move, like AlphaZero would have played this move. Here Liren finds a nice positional trade of pieces. He played bishop on f6. After bishop takes on f6, he played bishop on e4. And this light square bishop now is the best minor piece on the board. Having both of these very nice diagonals covered, the knight is on an outpost. If you maybe take bishop takes on f3, then bishop takes on f3 is perfectly fine. This bishop, although we have opposite colored bishops, but it's blocked out by its own pawn. On the other hand, this bishop has a better activity. We have a dangerous attack on the c file, some discovered attack possibilities on the c file, and also we can create a very nice pawn attack with his pawns with a4 and b5. So that's why here after bishop takes on f6 and bishop on f6, here bishop on e4, and now rook on d6 was played by Wesley So trying to stay with both of these bishops in the game. Here h3 and now bishop on d7. It's now a little bit strange situation here to have this rook in front of the bishop, but Wesley So will solve also this positional problem after a couple of moves. Here rook on c2 was played, and this was maybe again a slight inaccuracy by Liren. Maybe a better way would have been here, instead of rook on c2, to play a4, simply attacking, pushing the pawns. If you play b5, then you see a5, and this would be a nice positional cut of the position here. The space advantage on the 5th rank. We have the knight outpost. It's really hard to challenge this knight on c5. The bishop's activity is perfect. Basically what we want to do is maybe somehow to improve the position of the knight, maybe search for better squares, or improve the position of this rook, getting it to d1 or similar ideas. But here the position on the queen side after potential a5 would be so blocked out that I cannot find a good square now for any of black pieces. All of these white pieces are restricting this black pieces completely. So instead of this pawn breakthrough, here Liren played rook on c2. Maybe it was really slight inaccuracy, because now you don't have to improve the position on the c file, because you have this discovered attack possibilities anyway, so nothing can happen on the c file because the queen is still on the c file, and if you retreat to d8, then again the queen is on the starting square, so it's not a problem, and it's not something that white has to worry about. Here after rook on c2, it gives now the opportunity for Wesley So to regroup a little bit. He plays bishop on e8. It seems like a strange move, but it's a very nice positional idea. Now black can also double up here rooks on the d file and improve the position. So rook on c1 was played, and now rook on d8. You see Liren has the domination here on the c file. On the other hand, here Wesley So has a perfect control of the d file. Here g4 was played by Liren. Great move, I think. There is now really this dangerous threat to play h4 and then after the g5. So that's why Wesley So tried to solve the problem with the move h5 himself, but of course here king on g2 was played. But again, this king on g2, when I watched the game, I thought that Liren is gonna play here g5 immediately, which would have been maybe the best move. And if you retreat here with the bishop on e7, then g6, and I don't know how to handle this position from black's perspective. The queen is aiming on the king. Here we have a dangerous spin. You cannot take, of course, with the rook, because the rook is protecting this g6. Perfect pinning situation here. Basically what we want to do is maybe somehow improve the position of the king on h2, and then go into the game with the rooks through the g file. So this, I think, would have been a much better situation here for Liren. Instead of that, he played rook on g2, and again the position is simplified. Here h takes g4 was played, h takes g4, and now we have b6. Here Wesley So finds a very interesting defensive move. There is now a tricky line. If you take the knight with the knight, the pawn on a6, it seems like you have lost some pawns, and you it comes with an attack on the queen. But now queen on c8, very dangerous. If you take bishop on c6, then here queen takes g4 with the check. If you retreat with the king on f1, then queen on h3, here king on e2, and now bishop on c6. We have the rook takes on c6, and now e4 would be very dangerous. Now where to go with your knight? You don't have good squares. If you retreat here, then again we have some check possibilities, and again if you try knight on d4 to jump with the knight, then rook takes on d4, you cannot take because you lose the queen on the 3rd rank. So I don't know if Wesley saw all of that, but here after knight on a6, it would be a very dangerous situation here for Liren. So great defensive move, which Wesley So found here, the b6 move. Here knight on d3, and now queen on d7, and the position is now even more simplified. Here king on g3 was played, of course protecting here the g4 pawn, but now we have a simplified continuation. Rook takes on d3, we have queen takes, queen takes, bishop takes, and now rook takes on d3. Well, now g5, of course, bishop on e7, and now also Liren gives up the rook for two minor pieces. Here bishop on c6, and now bishop on c6, and now e4 played by Wesley So. Knight on e5, which is a correct move. It seems now that this is very dangerous because here Wesley So played bishop on d6 with the pin on the knight, and here Liren plays a very dangerous move, king on f4, and the knight is pinned. Of course, Wesley So continues to play rook on d5, and now I want you to pause the video and try to find the best move here for Liren, because there is a move in Liren could have maybe have a huge advantage, but he missed the move. In the game he played rook on c8, which is a mistake basically, because in the continuation we have king on h7 after rook on e8. Here Liren tried to protect it, but now Wesley So played very nice rook takes on e5. We have rook takes on e5, and now f6. After g takes f6, g takes f6, you see black is going to continue the game with the piece up. Here king on e4 can be played, but now bishop takes on e5. Here king on d4 was played, but now bishop on b2, and in this position Liren will resign. But let's go back. Instead of this rook on c8, there is a line in which Liren has really the advantage. I really want you to try to find this move. It's really hard to find. It's not so easy. It's a very aggressive move, and it's the move g6 that maybe even wins the game, because there are now several options. If you try here to take with the bishop this knight on e5, then we have king takes on e4 with an attack against the rook and also against the bishop, so the rook cannot protect the bishop on e5 on the 5th rank. So that's why here the rook has to retreat on the 8th rank, because if you don't do that, if you try rook on d7, then rook on c8 is even checkmate. So that's why in this position, if you try to take here with the rook, then again we can simply take rook takes on d6, and again we have the same threat, and again this would be, I think, a favorable continuation here for white. But the best way is probably to continue here f takes g6, but now here we have a very interesting move, king on e4. You're leaving your knight hanging, but now after rook takes on e5 we have king on d4, and you see now the bishop is attacked, and the bishop is protecting the rook on e5. So that's why you have to retreat to b8, but now rook on c8, then again something like king on f7 can be played, but now after rook takes on b8 we have now a much better pawn structure. We have also pass pawn. Here these two pawns are doubled, so this will be, I think, a completely winning endgame here for Liren. So see, even this continuation f takes g6 is not so good because of this move king takes on e4. So you see, you can take, but now king on d4, you have to retreat with your bishop, and it a game over. So here bishop on b8, rook on c8. But instead of that, as I said, we have rook on c8 played by Liren, and it was game over because now we had this continuation, rook takes on e5, and now f6, tricky stuff here by Wesley So, and now it was game over. Okay, great game by both players. Liren had his chances, great opening preparation, great attack here with the move g4. Should have maybe gone g5, g6, pushing further, but okay, it happens to all of us. Liren played, I think, a really great game. We'll see what will happen with him in the continuation of the tournament. I'll show you some standings after I publish more games. So we have now 6 rounds played, and Magnus Carlsen has 4 wins and 2 draws. He's taking the lead. He's playing really great in this tournament. So you can also watch my previous game that I've explained now in my series so far, and you can also watch my best chess games of all time if you want to see the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history. See you soon with some more videos from this tournament, and chess is the best, of course.